In most fantasy worlds, a magic ring is a convenient shortcut. Slip it on, and you can turn invisible, live forever, or cast spells, usually with no questions asked. But in this universe, the magic comes with an agonizingly specific invoice. Richard Wagner hard-coded a brutal law into the foundation of this mythology. Absolute power is mathematically impossible to achieve unless you are willing to make the ultimate personal sacrifice. Wagner treated this trade-off as a cosmic constant. It acts as a structural law of the universe that binds mortals, dwarves, and gods with equal severity. To gain total control over the world around you, you have to completely eradicate your own capacity to love. Deep at the bottom of the River Rhine, a mesmerizing glint of gold cuts through the dark. A subterranean dwarf named Alberich stares at it. The water maidens guarding the riverbed taunt him with a secret. The gold is entirely unworked, but if someone were to forge it into a ring, they would gain absolute dominion over the entire world. There is only one catch. The forge refuses to light for anyone who holds on to affection. The creator has to actively, permanently swear off and curse love. Humiliated by the maidens and consumed by ambition, Alberich makes the calculation. He curses the concept of affection, reaches out, and takes the gold. By choosing the ring, Alberich creates the world's first engine of exploitation. He has successfully traded his capacity for empathy for a mechanism that values his own dominance over any human connection. High above the riverbed, the ruler of the gods is nursing his own towering ambition. Wotan wants to secure his reign for eternity. To do it, he hires two giant brothers, Fafner and Fasolt, to construct Valhalla, a massive, indestructible fortress in the clouds. But gods don't pay in cash. Wotan agreed to hand over Freya, the goddess who provides the golden apples that keep the gods young and capable of love. Wotan is staring down the exact same cosmic invoice Alberich paid. To maintain his architecture of power, he has to sacrifice love. The fortress is finished. The giants arrive to collect their wages, and when Wotan stalls, they physically seize Freya, violently dragging her away as collateral. The king of the gods wants the absolute security of Valhalla, but he refuses to accept the bill. He wants the power without paying the price. Desperate to get Freya back and keep his fortress, Wotan looks for a loophole. Guided by the trickster Loge, he realizes he can pay off his massive debt if he can steal the newly forged ring from Alberich. The gods travel down into Nibelheim. Alberich's ring has already transformed the underworld into an industrial hellscape, where a faceless population of dwarves is forced into endless labor to hoard wealth for their master. Wotan and Loge play on Alberich's ego. They trick him into demonstrating the power of his magical shape-shifting helmet, trapping him in a vulnerable form and binding his hands. With Alberich helpless, Wotan doesn't negotiate. He grabs Alberich's hand and brutally tears the Ring of Powers straight from his finger. By extracting the wealth through force rather than making the personal sacrifice himself, Wotan believes he has bypassed the system. Stripped of his gold and his dignity, Alberich weaponizes his remaining rage. He casts a terrifying curse on the object he created. The curse ensures the ring brings paranoia and murder to whoever possesses it next. This contagion spreads within minutes. Wotan is forced to hand the cursed ring over to the giants to buy back Freya, instantly transferring the target onto their backs. As soon as the brothers have the gold, the greed sets in. They argue over the hoard, and Fafner bludgeons his brother Fasolt to death. Right before the eyes of the gods, Fafner strikes madly at Fasolt, killing his own brother to ensure he is the sole possessor of the ring. The curse works through a predictable, fatal psychology. It forces anyone who holds the ring to view the rest of the world, even a brother, as an obstacle to be eliminated. From the depths of the ground, the ancient earth goddess Erda rises to deliver a chilling prophecy to the king of the gods. She warns Wotan that holding on to the gold, or seeking refuge in the fortress paid for by it, guarantees the total destruction of his kind. But Wotan is far too compromised. Arrogant and blind to his own hypocrisy, he brushes the warning aside. He summons a gleaming rainbow bridge and leads the gods across the sky to take their place inside their new home. They march into a hollow victory. Valhalla is a monument built on theft, murder, and an unpaid debt. The fortress might keep their enemies out, but it proves that no one, not even a god, can escape the terminal cost of absolute power. In Norse mythology, Wotan is the king of the gods and the supreme architect of the universe. But if we look closely, he acts less like an omnipotent ruler and more like an executive paralyzed by his own legal system. His authority relies on contracts carved directly into the shaft of his spear. He rules because everyone follows these rules. But he must reclaim a ring forged from stolen gold. His treaties explicitly forbid him taking it. If he breaks his law, his authority vanishes. To bypass this trap, Wotan engineers a legal loophole. He decides to create a mortal. If a human acts entirely on their own, completely outside divine jurisdiction, they could secure the ring for him without technically violating the treaties. Absolute power requires absolute adherence to the rules. By relying on a perfect legal structure to maintain his rule, the supreme god has become a prisoner of his own architecture. Wotan sets his plan in motion by descending to the mortal realm in disguise. He fathers a set of human twins, Siegmund and Sieglinde, and then abandons them to a harsh life, ensuring they grow up separated and desperate. Years later, a wounded and exhausted Siegmund stumbles into a forest dwelling to seek shelter. He doesn't know it, but this is the home of Hunding, a brutal warrior, and Hunding's forced bride, who happens to be Siegmund's long-lost twin sister, Sieglinde. Recognizing a deep, unexplainable connection, the isolated twins fall into a forbidden, incestuous passion. This chaotic, taboo human emotion operates entirely outside the cold, calculating logic of divine law. Looking at this original libretto excerpt, we see the climax of Wotan's setup. Siegmund seizes the hilt of a magical sword left embedded in an ash tree, triumphantly naming the weapon Nothung as he tears it from the wood. Siegmund feels completely empowered in this moment, driven by his own agency and desperate love. The tragic irony is his birth, his years of suffering, his arrival at the house, and the sword and the tree were all engineered by Wotan. The loophole seems flawless until Fricka arrives. She is Wotan's wife and the goddess of marriage, and she steps into the story acting as a cosmic prosecutor to challenge his plan. Her legal argument is inescapable. She points out that Siegmund is acting entirely on Wotan's invisible orders. Wotan sired him, guided his steps through the forest, and planted the magic sword for him to find. Siegmund is a puppet, not an independent agent. Wotan realizes his entire system has collapsed. Because he is bound by his own contracts to uphold the sanctity of marriage, a law Siegmund and Sieglinde are currently breaking, he has no defense. He is legally required to condemn his own son to death. You cannot engineer an independent rebellion if you hold all the strings. Bound by the very laws that give him power, Wotan now has to personally order the destruction of the only creation that could have saved him. Here in the text, Wotan issues a grim directive. He commands his favorite Valkyrie daughter, Brünnhilde, to ride to the battlefield as an agent of the state. Her explicit order is to ensure Siegmund dies in his impending duel with Hunding. When Brünnhilde arrives to deliver the death sentence, she watches Siegmund refuse the glory of the afterlife because he refuses to abandon Sieglinde. Witnessing this profound, fearless devotion shatters her strict military programming. Rather than execute her father's command, Brünnhilde raises her shield to block Hunding's strike, actively defending the mortal lovers. It is the first genuine act of free will in the story. Because his enforcer has disobeyed a direct order, Wotan is forced to intervene directly in the mortal realm. He appears on the battlefield and uses his spear to shatter the magic sword he had originally left for his son. Stripped of his weapon and his divine protection, Siegmund is immediately struck down and killed. Independent agency finally entered Wotan's universe, but it did not come from the mortal he carefully engineered. It came from the daughter built to obey him, and her choice forced him to slaughter the son he loved. In the chaos immediately following the battle, Brünnhilde gathers the fragments of the shattered sword. She pulls the pregnant Sieglinde onto her horse and flees the scene, knowing exactly what her treason means. The law demands satisfaction. Driven by systemic obligation, Wotan hunts his daughter down across the mountains to exact divine punishment. When he finally confronts her, Brünnhilde offers a heartbreaking defense. She argues that by protecting Siegmund, she was actually executing Wotan's true, secret desire, even though it meant violating his explicit, legal command. Wotan acknowledges her truth, but he cannot grant clemency without destroying his own authority. He is legally obligated to strip Brünnhilde of her immortality and cast her out of the divine realm. This text captures Wotan's final decree. He places his now mortal daughter into an enchanted sleep on a desolate peak, summoning Loge, the god of fire, to surround the rock in a billowing blaze. This inferno erupts around the peak, serving a dual purpose. It is a prison of punishment mandated by the legal code, but it is also a protective barrier engineered by a grieving father, one that will only yield to a future hero who knows absolutely no fear. In a cosmic order built entirely on rigid authority and perfect control, empathy and independence are inherently illegal. To maintain his power, the creator is ultimately forced to burn away everything he holds dear. Richard Wagner's Ring Cycle depicts a universe slowly poisoning itself. It's a mythological landscape where gods, dwarves, and giants are consumed by a single destructive obsession, the absolute control of a magical golden ring. Into this decaying world steps Siegfried. He possesses immense physical strength and absolutely zero capacity for fear, but he is also completely ignorant. He has no idea who his parents were, where he comes from, or his place in the world. His only guide is his surrogate father, a dwarf named Mime. Mime hasn't raised Siegfried out of love or paternal duty. He views the boy purely as a blunt instrument to be sharpened and deployed. Mime wants to point that weapon at Fafner, a massive beast guarding a hoard of treasure that includes the all-powerful ring. This sets up a classic master-slave dynamic. Mime controls the flow of information, keeping Siegfried isolated so he can maneuver the young warrior into doing his dirty work. But Mime has a mechanical problem. He needs Siegfried to kill a creature with thick, impenetrable scales, and the dwarf simply lacks the skill to forge a sword strong enough for the job. Every blade he makes, Siegfried easily shatters. Siegfried gathers the shattered fragments of his father's sword, Nothing, and takes over the forge. He melts the steel down and wields the hammer himself. By hammering the steel himself, Siegfried sheds his role as a puppet. Forging the weapon is his first true act of rebellion, making him an autonomous actor for the very first time. Armed with Nothing, Siegfried marches into the dark forest to face Mime's ultimate target, Fafner. Fafner has used a magical helmet called the Tarnhelm to morph into a massive, heavily scaled dragon. The two clash, but the beast is no match. Siegfried finds an opening and drives the blade straight into the dragon's heart. As he pulls the sword free from the carcass, a splash of the dragon's burning blood lands on his fingers. Instinctively, he brings his hand to his mouth and tastes it. That accidental drop of blood triggers a sudden sensory awakening. The ambient noise of the forest comes into sharp focus, and Siegfried realizes he can understand the song of a nearby woodbird. The woodbird delivers vital intelligence. It warns Siegfried that Mime is waiting nearby, carrying a poisoned drink, ready to kill him and steal the treasure. Siegfried doesn't hesitate. When Mime approaches with the toxic brew, the young warrior strikes preemptively, killing his manipulative guardian and severing his ties to his task. He ventures into the dragon's cave and emerges with the Tarnhelm and the ring. Yet, because he has no concept of wealth or power, the gold holds no sway over him. He treats the ultimate prize of the gods like a simple trinket. Now entirely independent, he listens as the woodbird tells him of a sleeping woman surrounded by fire on a mountain peak. Guided by the bird, he leaves the shadowy woods to find her. Tasting the blood grants Siegfried immediate clarity. The lies he was raised on fall away, allowing him to perceive the world accurately and break free from the cycle of deception. Siegfried's path leads him up the steep slopes of a towering mountain. Near the summit, he finds his way blocked by an old man in a wide-brimmed hat, Wotan, the chief of the gods, wandering in disguise. Wotan bars the path with his heavy spear. That piece of wood represents the ancient, rigid authority of divine law, the exact system of rules that set the world's corruption in motion to begin with. Wotan expects the boy to yield, but Siegfried, having zero reverence for this god, swings Nothung and cleaves the weapon right down the middle. With the spear broken, Wotan's authority collapses. The world's fate now rests entirely in the hands of human free will. With the old god removed, Siegfried charges straight into the ring of magic fire, circling the mountain's peak, stepping through the flames completely unharmed. He finds the sleeping Valkyrie, Brünnhilde, removes her heavy armor, and wakes her with a kiss. The text specifically notes her rising to a sitting posture to greet the sun. The warrior who laughed at dragons suddenly trembles. He experiences true, paralyzing fear for the very first time, brought on entirely by the overwhelming vulnerability of romantic love. They embrace that vulnerability and fall deeply in love. In this moment, Siegfried's long evolution is finished. He has grown from an ignorant tool into a fully realized human being. After the struggle of the previous generations, the hero Siegfried prepares to descend from his home on the mountainside. He leaves his lover, the former Valkyrie Brünnhilde, to seek new adventures in the mortal world. As a promise that he will return, he leaves her the ring of the Nibelung. He offers the gold not as a tool for power, but as a token of his devotion. At this moment, the narrative shifts toward a new human history, one guided by personal choice rather than the restrictive treaties of the gods. But as long as the ring remains in the world, the corruption of the old order persists, waiting for a single vulnerability to resurface. That vulnerability is found within the Gibiching Hall. Between these black marble columns, Hagen, the son of the dwarf Alberich, is plotting to regain the ring his father lost. Hagen understands that he cannot seize the ring from Siegfried through combat. Instead, he must weaponize deception against a man who has never learned to fear. When Siegfried arrives at the hall, Hagen orchestrates a hospitality trap, offering the hero a drink laced with a potion of forgetfulness. The effect is immediate. Siegfried's memory of Brünnhilde and the vows they shared is instantly erased from his mind. This artificial amnesia allows Hagen to program a new obsession. Siegfried looks at the king's sister, Gudrune, and decides he must have her as his wife. By stripping Siegfried of his memory, Hagen transforms the world's greatest hero into a programmable asset, working on behalf of the very forces he was meant to replace. Under this mental fog, Siegfried agrees to help King Gunther win a bride. In exchange for Gudrune, he promises to capture the woman on the Valkyrie Rock. Siegfried uses the Tarnhelm, a magical helmet that allows him to take on Gunther's exact physical appearance. Disguised as another man, Siegfried breaches the protective wall of fire and violently subdues Brünnhilde, believing he is performing a service for a new ally, unaware that he is currently hunting down the woman he pledged his life to protect. The ring's curse operates through the distortion of reality, twisting the hero's perception until he destroys his own life while believing he is acting with honor. The consequences of this illusion converge back at the Gibiching Hall, where Brünnhilde is brought in as a captive. She is met with the sight of Siegfried, who stands before her with eyes that show no recognition or warmth. Brünnhilde's shock turns to despair when she notices the ring on Siegfried's finger, the token of their bond, now worn by a man who treats her as a stranger. Ignorant of the potion, her grief twists into a demand for retribution against her betrayer. She aligns herself with Hagen, revealing the one physical weakness that makes the invulnerable hero mortal, his back. The final move of the conspiracy takes place during a hunting party on the Rhine. Waiting for a calculated moment of vulnerability during the hunt, Hagen violently drives his weapon straight into Siegfried's back. As Siegfried dies, the effect of the potion finally dissipates. His true memory returns in his final moments, and he passes away calling out to the woman he truly loved. Brünnhilde discovers the secret of the potion too late. She realizes that the betrayal was a fabrication of the Gibbekings and the fading order of the gods. With the deception exposed, Brünnhilde recognizes that the entire system of divine manipulation and greed must be dismantled to prevent further tragedy. Brünnhilde takes command of the funeral rites, ordering a massive pyre to be built for Siegfried on the riverbank. She reclaims the cursed ring, places it securely on her finger, and with absolute resolve, rides directly into the roaring flames. The Rhine River overflows its banks, extinguishing the fire. The Rhine maidens emerge from the water, dragging Hagen down into the depths and finally reclaiming the gold that started the cycle. High above the river, the flames spread to the heavens. Valhalla is consumed, ending the rule of Wotan and the ancient gods. The burning of the divine palace leaves a purified landscape where human freedom and sacrificial love replace the old laws of the gods.